Hello, dear friends. This article reads a lot like psychoanalysis. Opinion piece. You are very big. I am the universe. You are not a small being. Break your programming. You are more than you think. Are you aligned with your soul? Let's start. You are what you think. So think big, believe big, act big, work big, give big, forgive big, laugh big, love big, and live big. Said Andrew Carnegie. Our thoughts determine our reality. Therefore, we can choose our thoughts and therefore our life experience. As a child, you were programmed to always be very small, to have no confidence in your own self, to always depend on mom and dad, to believe that you couldn't survive on your own without meeting their demands, to believe that you couldn't find a job without a recommendation, to believe that you would lose your job if you didn't follow your boss's upset orders, and you always agreed with them like a slave, believing that you had no choice but to hold on to a joy you hated, to a job you hated, so you wouldn't end up on the street and starve, believing that you couldn't survive as a self-employed person. One day, you changed city and began to discover your true identity. There was nothing there to remind you of your old limited ego. The city you were born in always reminded you of the limitations of your childhood, but everything was new there, and you began to discover the world. You surrounded yourself with friends who were not toxic and who respected your ideas, appreciated you, and valued you. You saw streets, museums, and ancient monuments that aroused your admiration. You went to lectures on subjects that interested you, and you were surprised to see so many people who thought the same as you. You couldn't believe what you saw, because all your life you had been told that you were wrong. Epiphany. One day, I had an epiphany in a public park, and it was so wonderful that I wanted to go back there every day of my life, but I couldn't. I wanted to tell my experience to everyone, but nobody understood me, because they thought I was crazy. I discovered at that moment that the world is such a wonderful place that I couldn't believe it. I looked into the loving eyes of a dog, and I wanted to hug it because I couldn't believe the greatness of its enlightened spirit. Another day, I put myself in the hands of a psychologist friend to try to resolve some traumas from my childhood, and that worked for a while. But one day, I realized that he was much greener than me, despite his career as a psychologist, and that he didn't understand me well. I was constantly misunderstood, and this ended in a breakup. Another day, I decided to attend many esoteric courses, but I realized that it was all a simulation, that everyone pretended unconditional love, and that there was even a competition of who were more enlightened. But there were people much more traumatized than me, and that led me astray. Acknowledgement. I express my utmost gratitude to Ramiro Calle, Emilio Fial, and Sanchez Dragó's books, because they helped me to find my way. I'm also grateful to many YouTube channels, but I don't want mentioned any because I would forget one. My trips to India and Nepal were disappointing because I was scammed many times, but I also learned a lot. I received many initiations from Tibetan lamas, to whom I am grateful, but I also discovered that the Buddhist religion has some limitations, the most important of which is not recognizing the absolute and eternal Brahma that we call God. This doesn't work if you don't love him with all your soul. The goddess appeared to me 3 times in disguise, but I didn't recognize her, which I regret very much. Another day, I started reading all kinds of spiritual books from different traditions, and I was so enthusiastic about them that I accumulated a very heavy library, which was a big problem when it came time to move. The time came to return to my hometown because I had been offered a job that I could not refuse. That is when my second nightmare began. First, I had to work for free for a while before signing a contract. Second, the boss was a tyrant, but his wife was much worse because she hated me for who I was. Failures. I spent the best years of my youth working piecework without hours for a precarious salary. The performance required of me was so high that I had to drink 2 liters of cola every day to be awake and efficient. I came home exhausted and stressed every day, and I needed to drink a liter of beer to be able to sleep. When I had a day off, I was so exhausted that I spent the whole day sleeping. I then understood Allen Ginsberg's whole, in quotes. I have been the best man of my generation destroyed by drugs, hungry, hysterical, naked. But nothing lasts forever, because, as the saying goes, there is no evil that lasts 100 years and nobody that can withstand it. This unpleasant experience made me hate my own profession. I studied herbal medicine and set up a drugstore that lasted 7 years, and it was a ruin. And I still have debts because the commercial margin for dietary products is very low, and you need to sell a lot to make it profitable. But I never completely abandoned my profession, because behind the counter I had an old Macintosh computer from which I did journalistic work and even a digital newspaper. Then came unemployment and taking antidepressants, which I had a hard time to getting rid of. It was my dark night of the soul, until I got state aid and retirement. I didn't waste time because during those years I took several professional courses that taught me practical and computer skills related to my profession. An Argentine physic lady advised me to change my name to disconnect myself from my family karma and have luck in life, and she gave me the name Miskili Surya. It's my station name, but my cosmic name is Latiro, which means pea or angel feather. The feather is also the symbol of journalism. A clue. One day, I walked past the window of a computer shop that was closing and was selling its products at a discount. A webcam that had been reduced to €5 caught my attention, but I didn't buy it. I spent several days next to the window, and the webcam was still there, unsold, until I had the intuition that it was meant for me, and I bought it. What do I do with this gadget? I could only do one thing: use it on YouTube. I resisted it because I was the typical keyboard journalist, very skilled in literature, but I had never worked with cameras or microphones. But I decided to try my luck, and I was a resounding success. So resounding that it was demonetized my first channel with more than 100,000 subscribers for speaking too clearly. And then I learned to be diplomatic like now, without offending anyone, but speaking the truth. I had always been a writer, not a speaker, so I had to learn to speak in public and overcome my shyness. This is a very succinct summary of my past life, but my ultimate goal is to reach the supreme truth for the benefit of all beings. I have realized that my character is ridiculous and very limited compared to the greatness of my being, and I ask God every day to realize the greatness to help the ascension of this world. Now, my ideal is the same as Henry David Thoreau in his book Walden Life in the Woods. It would be to move from the current archetype of the tarot magician to the archetype of the hermit. I live in an almost perfect place facing the sea, and I do not want to abandon my stray cats, but I want to go up the mountain to meet God in solitude. I do not want anything else in the world. Just thinking about it gives me great excitement. I hope to have the resources to move in the near future, God willing, but it would be after the event. Opinions. Extreme volatility set to hit in 2025 according to Financial Heresy. The financial landscape is rarely calm, but there are more and more rumors predicting a period of extreme volatility in 2025. Investors should prepare for significant market swings. We are facing a period of profound changes in the economic fundamentals of the world. Ismael Perez says that the US corporation has fallen and the republic is returning. This means a decentralization of power, the restoration of common law, and the role of local communities. This change represents not only a political transformation, but a spiritual and conscious awakening. It is not just a political revolution, but an evolution of consciousness which announces the dawn of a new earth. According to Kavamur, many of the high-level resignations we have seen over the past few years are evidence of constant arrests by the white hats, which are not reported due to the way they are hidden. We are looking at a black hat cloning program, not a white hat actor program. This is just one of the many reasons why full disclosure must follow to the big change. Mothership appearance. The Pentagon has revealed that a mothership in space heading for Earth is a bigger problem than we expected. Sightings have increased around the world over the past week. Stunning orbs appear in the sky that look like something out of the Bible, known as angelic beings, who would return before the second coming of Christ, as foretold in the prophecies. The ET presence has been a part of our world for a long time, but it was kept secret. Are you aligned with your soul and divine truth, or are you aligned with ego and man-made belief systems? It's time to accept the truth that separation is an illusion, particularly the idea that you are separate from God. It's time to accept the truth that you are a creator and your own savior. There are no punishments or rewards, only divine laws. And one of these divine laws is that the creator must experience his own creation. In other words, the things you think, say, and act, you will experience them in one way or another, says Geshe-Rash. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.